Officer Marcus Thompson had been patrolling the downtown area for 3 years, but nothing could have prepared him for what he would encounter on that cold December evening. The radio crackled with routine calls, a minor fender bender on 5th Street, a noise complaint from the University District, and then something that made him pause mid-sip of his coffee. Unit 47, we have a report of 2 minors wandering alone near the old railway station. Caller says they look distressed and have been there for over an hour. Marcus set down his coffee and reached for the radio. Unit 47 responding. ETA 3 minutes. The railway station had been abandoned for nearly a decade, its broken windows and graffiti-covered walls serving as a reminder of better times when trains still brought life to this part of town. As Marcus pulled up in his patrol car, his headlights cut through the evening darkness, illuminating 2 small figures huddled together on an old wooden bench. He stepped out slowly, his training kicking in. Children alone at night always meant trouble, but there was something different about these 2. They weren't running or hiding. Instead, they sat perfectly still as if they had nowhere else to go. As he approached, Marcus could see they were girls, probably around 8 and 10 years old. The older one had her arm wrapped protectively around the younger, both wearing thin jackets that were nowhere near adequate for the December chill. Their clothes were clean but worn, and he noticed how the older girl's eyes tracked his every movement while keeping her sister close. "Hey there," Marcus said gently, crouching down to their eye level about 6 feet away. He had learned long ago that towering over frightened children only made things worse. "I'm Officer Thompson. Are you 2 okay?" The older girl straightened up, her chin lifting with a defiance that seemed far too mature for her age. "We're fine. We're just waiting." "Waiting for what, sweetheart?" "For Mama to come back." The younger girl's voice was barely a whisper, muffled against her sister's shoulder. Marcus felt his heart sink. He had handled dozens of cases involving abandoned or lost children, but something about the way the older girl held herself told him this situation was different. There was a protectiveness in her posture, a determination that spoke of someone who had been forced to grow up too fast. "What are your names?" he asked, keeping his voice soft and non-threatening. The older girl hesitated, clearly weighing whether to trust him. "I'm Emma, and this is Lily. Those are beautiful names." "How long have you been waiting here, Emma?" "Since this morning." Emma's voice wavered slightly, the first crack in her brave facade. "Mama said she had to go somewhere important and that we should wait right here. She said she'd be back before dark." Marcus glanced at his watch. It was nearly 9 o'clock and darkness had fallen hours ago. He noticed how both girls shivered despite their attempts to stay warm by huddling together. The temperature was dropping and he knew they couldn't stay out here much longer. "Do you have anywhere else you can go? Grandparents, aunts, uncles?" Emma shook her head firmly. "It's just us and Mama. She takes care of us and we take care of each other." The loyalty in her voice was heartbreaking. Marcus had seen this before. Children so devoted to a parent who had failed them that they would defend them no matter what. But there was something else in Emma's eyes, a fear that went deeper than just being cold and alone. "Emma, I need to make sure you and Lily are safe and warm tonight. Would it be okay if we went somewhere where you can get some hot chocolate and maybe something to eat?" "No." Emma's response was immediate and fierce. "We can't leave. Mama won't know where to find us. We promised we'd wait right here." Lily lifted her head from Emma's shoulder and Marcus got his first clear look at her face. She was pale and thin, with dark circles under her eyes that spoke of too many sleepless nights. But it was the trust in her gaze as she looked at her sister that made Marcus's chest tighten. "Emma always keeps her promises," Lily said quietly. "She promised Mama we'd stay, so we have to stay." Marcus realized he was dealing with a child who had been forced into the role of protector, probably for longer than anyone should have to bear such responsibility. He needed to handle this carefully. One wrong move and he could traumatize these girls further or worse, make them run. "I tell you what," he said, standing up slowly. "Why don't I wait with you for a little while? I've got some blankets in my car and I think I might have some snacks too." Emma considered this, her protective instincts warring with the practical need for warmth. Finally, she nodded. "Okay, but we're not leaving this spot." As Marcus walked back to his patrol car, he radioed for backup, but not the kind most people would expect. "Dispatch, I need you to contact Child Services and have someone meet me at the old railway station. I've got 2 minors here who appear to have been abandoned. Also, can you run a check on recent missing persons reports for 2 girls, approximately 8 and 10 years old?" Name's Emma and Lily. He grabbed the emergency blankets from his trunk along with the granola bars he kept for long shifts. When he returned, he found Emma whispering something in Lily's ear, probably preparing her for whatever might come next. "Here we go," Marcus said, wrapping the blankets around both girls. "These should help keep you warm." As he handed them the granola bars, Emma looked up at him with eyes that held too much knowledge for someone so young. "You're going to try to take us away, aren't you?" Marcus sat down on the bench beside them, maintaining some distance but close enough to share his warmth. "Emma, my job is to keep you and Lily safe. That's all I want to do. But if you take us away, how will Mama find us when she comes back?" The question hung in the cold air between them, and Marcus knew that everything he said next would determine whether these girls would ever trust him. Looking at their faces in the dim light from the nearby street lamp, he made a decision that would change all their lives forever. Marcus chose his words carefully, knowing that these two little girls had probably heard more empty promises than most adults. "Emma, I'm going to be completely honest with you, okay? That's what you deserve." Emma nodded, her grip on Lily tightening slightly. "My job is to make sure you and Lily are safe, fed, and warm. Right now, sitting out here in the cold isn't safe. I don't know where your mama is or when she'll be back, but I do know that she wouldn't want you to get sick or hurt while waiting for her." The radio on Marcus's shoulder crackled to life. "Unit 47, we have no current missing persons reports matching your description. However, Child Services is en route, ETA 15 minutes. Emma's face went pale at the mention of Child Services. "They're going to separate us, aren't they?" "That's what they do. They take kids and put them in different places." Marcus turned to face her fully, his heart breaking at the terror in her voice. "Emma, is that what you're afraid of? Being separated from Lily?" Tears finally spilled over Emma's cheeks, though she tried to wipe them away quickly. "She's all I have. And I'm all she has. We promised each other we'd never let anyone split us up. Mama promised too, before she what?" Emma clamped her mouth shut, realizing she had said too much. But Marcus was starting to piece together a picture that made his stomach churn. These weren't children who had been abandoned for a few hours. The way they carried themselves, the protective dynamic between them, Emma's fear of authority figures, this had been going on for much longer. "Emma, how many times has your mama gone away and asked you to wait somewhere?" "I don't have to answer that." Emma's defiance returned, but Marcus could see the exhaustion beneath it. Lily tugged on Emma's sleeve. "Tell him about the park," she whispered. "Lily, no. But he seems nice. And I'm really cold." Marcus felt his training and his instincts as a father figure warring with each other. He had 2 children of his own at home, probably tucked safely in their beds right now. The thought of them sitting alone in the cold, waiting for him to return, made his chest tight with emotion. "Girls, I need to ask you something important. When was the last time you had a real meal? Not just snacks, but actual food?" Emma and Lily exchanged a look. "Yesterday," Lily said quietly. "The lady at the store gave us sandwiches." "What store?" "The one by the bus station." Emma told her we were waiting for our mama, and the lady felt sorry for us. Marcus was beginning to understand that these children had been surviving on the kindness of strangers for longer than they should have had to. His radio crackled again, and he saw a familiar vehicle pulling up, Sarah Chen from Child Services. Sarah had worked with Marcus on several cases over the years. She was one of the good ones, someone who genuinely cared about keeping families together when possible. But Marcus also knew that her hands were often tied by regulations and overcrowded systems. "Emma," Marcus said urgently as Sarah approached, "I need you to listen to me. The woman walking over here is named Sarah. She's going to ask you some questions, and she's going to want to take you somewhere safe for tonight." "No." Emma stood up, pulling Lily with her. "We're not going anywhere." Sarah stopped a few feet away, having overheard. She was a small woman with kind eyes and graying hair, someone who had dedicated her career to helping children, but had seen too much heartbreak along the way. "Hi there," Sarah said gently. "I'm Sarah. Officer Thompson called me because he's worried about you two being out here in the cold." "We're not leaving," Emma said firmly. "This is where Mama told us to wait." Sarah crouched down, much as Marcus had done earlier. "Can you tell me your mama's name? Maybe we can help find her." Emma hesitated, then shook her head. She said not to tell anyone her name. "She said there are bad people looking for us." Marcus and Sarah exchanged a glance. This was getting more complicated by the minute. If the mother had warned the children about bad people, it could mean anything from an abusive relationship to involvement with drugs or crime. Or it could simply be a woman struggling with mental health issues who had filled her children's heads with paranoid fears. "Emma," Sarah said carefully, "do you and Lily have a place to sleep? A home?" "Yes," Emma said quickly. "We have an apartment. Can you show us where it is?" Emma's face crumpled slightly. We can't go back there. Mama said the bad people might be watching it." Lily started to cry quietly, and Emma immediately focused on comforting her. "It's okay, Lily. Remember what I told you? As long as we're together, we'll be okay." Marcus felt his resolve strengthen. Whatever bureaucratic hoops he had to jump through, whatever rules he had to bend, he was not going to let these sisters be separated. Not tonight, not if he could help it. "Sarah," he said quietly, "is there any way they can stay together, at least for tonight?" Sarah's expression was pained. "Marcus, you know how the system works. We have limited emergency placements, and most of our foster families aren't equipped to take 2 children on such short notice, especially when we don't know their full history or what kind of trauma they might be dealing with. Please," Emma said, having overheard, "please don't separate us. Lily gets scared at night. She has bad dreams, and I'm the only one who can help her feel better. And I don't know how to be without her." The raw honesty in Emma's voice hit both adults like a physical blow. Here was a child who had been forced to be an adult, who had shouldered responsibilities that would challenge someone twice her age, and her greatest fear wasn't of hunger or cold or even danger. It was of losing the one person she loved most in the world. Sarah pulled out her phone and stepped away to make some calls. Marcus could hear fragments of her conversations, words like emergency placement and sibling group and limited options. While Sarah was on the phone, Marcus sat back down next to the girls. "Emma, I want you to know something. I have kids too. A boy and a girl, not much older than you two. And if something ever happened to me and they were scared and alone, I would want someone like you looking out for them." Emma looked up at him with surprise. "You have kids?" "I do. And you know what? My daughter is a lot like you. She's brave and she looks out for others even when she's scared herself." "Are you scared sometimes?" Lily asked quietly. Marcus smiled. "All the time. Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing even when you are scared." Sarah returned, her expression grim. "I've made a dozen calls. The group homes are full, and the emergency shelters can't guarantee they'd keep the girls together. Most of our foster families are either at capacity or not approved for emergency placements." Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. Not at Sarah, but at a system that seemed designed to fail the most vulnerable. "There has to be something." "There is one option," Sarah said slowly, "but it's irregular and I'd need approval from my supervisor." Sarah hesitated, glancing between Marcus and the 2 girls who were watching every word with desperate attention. "There's a family I work with sometimes for emergency situations. The Hendersons. They've been foster parents for 15 years and they specialize in keeping sibling groups together, but they live about an hour outside the city." "That's too far," Emma said immediately. "What if Mama comes back and we're not here?" Marcus knelt down in front of Emma again. "Sweetheart, what if we left a note here? Something that tells your mama exactly where you are and how to find you." Emma considered this, but Marcus could see the fear in her eyes. "What if the bad people find it instead?" "What if we write it in a code that only your mama would understand?" Sarah suggested. "Something special between you and her?" For the first time since they'd arrived, Emma seemed to consider the possibility. "Mama taught us a special way to write messages. She said it was like a secret language just for our family." "That sounds perfect," Marcus said. "We could leave the note somewhere only she would think to look." Lily tugged on Emma's sleeve again. "I'm really tired, Emma, and hungry." Emma's resolve was clearly wavering. The responsibility of keeping her sister safe was weighing heavily on her young shoulders, and Marcus could see her trying to calculate which choice would be better for Lily. "Tell me about the Hendersons," Emma said to Sarah. Sarah smiled. The first genuine smile Marcus had seen from her all evening. "Well, Mrs. Henderson makes the best chocolate chip cookies in 3 counties. Mr. Henderson builds birdhouses in his workshop, and he teaches all the kids who stay with them how to use tools safely. They have a big yard with a swing set and a garden where they grow vegetables." "Do they have other kids?" Lily asked shyly. "Right now they have 2 other children staying with them. A boy named Miguel, who's 12, and a girl named Sophie, who's 14. Sophie loves to read stories to the younger kids. Marcus could see Emma processing this information. And they wouldn't separate us? The Hendersons specifically asked to work with sibling groups because they believe brothers and sisters should stay together, Sarah assured her. In fact, they adopted 2 brothers last year who had been in the system for 3 years. Adopted? Emma's voice was sharp with alarm. Only if that's what the children and their family want, Sarah said quickly. Many children stay with the Hendersons for just a few days or weeks while we work things out with their families. Marcus's radio crackled again, and he stepped away to answer it. The dispatcher's voice was professional, but carried an undercurrent of urgency. Unit 47, we've got a situation developing downtown. Multiple units needed for a domestic disturbance that's escalating. How's your status? Marcus looked back at Emma and Lily, then at Sarah, who was still trying to convince them to accept help. Dispatch, I'm dealing with a child welfare situation that requires my immediate attention. Can you reassign the domestic? Unit 47, this is a priority call. Captain wants all available units. Marcus felt torn between his duty as an officer and his growing commitment to these 2 girls. But before he could respond, Emma appeared at his elbow. You have to go help other people, don't you? She said quietly. Marcus looked down at her, surprised by her perceptiveness. There are other people who need help right now, yes. Emma was quiet for a long moment, then she walked back to where Lily sat huddled in the blanket. Marcus watched as she knelt down and had a whispered conversation with her sister. He couldn't hear the words, but he could see Lily nodding and occasionally glancing over at Sarah. Finally, Emma stood up and walked back to Marcus and Sarah. If we go with you, she said to Sarah, and Mama comes back here tonight, how will she find us? We'll leave multiple ways for her to contact us, Sarah promised. We'll leave a note here and we'll also register you in our system so that if she calls the police or child services, they'll know exactly where you are. And if she doesn't come back tonight? Sarah's expression was gentle but honest. Then we'll keep looking for her, and in the meantime, we'll make sure you and Lily are safe and together. Emma closed her eyes, and Marcus could see her making one of the hardest decisions of her young life. Lily, she called softly. Come here. Lily walked over, still wrapped in the emergency blanket, and took Emma's hand. Lily, we're going to go with the nice lady tonight. Just for tonight. But we're going to stay together and we're going to leave Mama a message so she can find us. Is that okay? Lily looked up at Emma with complete trust. If you think it's the right thing to do, then it's okay with me. Marcus felt his eyes sting with unshed tears. The love and trust between these 2 sisters was something beautiful and heartbreaking all at once. Okay, Emma said to Sarah. We'll go. But I want to write the note myself and I want to choose where to put it. Of course, Sarah agreed. Marcus pulled out his notebook and handed Emma a pen. She thought for a moment, then wrote something in careful, childish handwriting. But instead of letters, she used symbols and drawings that looked like a code. Only someone very familiar with it could understand. Where should we put it? Sarah asked. Emma looked around the abandoned station, then walked over to a loose board near the bench where they'd been sitting. She carefully tucked the note into a crack behind the board. Somewhere it would be protected from the weather, but visible to someone who knew to look for it. Mama and I used to leave messages for each other this way when we lived in different places, Emma explained. She'll know to check here. As Sarah led the girls toward her car, Marcus felt his radio demanding his attention again. He knew he had to respond to the call downtown. But something made him hesitate. Emma, he called out. She turned back to him. I want you to have my card, he said, pulling out one of his business cards and writing his personal cell phone number on the back. If you need anything at all, you call me. Day or night. Promise? Emma took the card and studied it carefully. Why are you being so nice to us? Marcus thought about his own children at home, about the warmth and security they took for granted, about how different their lives were from Emma and Lily's. Because everyone deserves to have someone looking out for them. As Sarah's car pulled away with the 2 girls in the back seat, Marcus stood in the empty parking lot of the abandoned railway station. He had handled hundreds of calls involving children over his career, but something about tonight felt different. Something about Emma's fierce protectiveness and Lily's quiet trust had gotten under his skin in a way that surprised him. His radio crackled again, more insistent now. Unit 47, respond. Unit 47 responding, Marcus finally answered, climbing back into his patrol car. But as he drove toward downtown and whatever crisis awaited him there, He couldn't shake the image of two small girls huddled together on a bench, facing an uncertain world with nothing but each other for comfort. The Henderson farm sat at the end of a long gravel driveway, surrounded by rolling hills and tall oak trees that swayed gently in the night breeze. As Sarah's car crunched over the gravel, Emma pressed her face to the window, trying to see everything at once. Lily had fallen asleep against her shoulder during the drive, exhausted from the long day of waiting and worry. Warm yellow light spilled from the windows of the large farmhouse, and Emma could see a woman's silhouette moving around inside what looked like a kitchen. The sight should have been comforting, but Emma felt her stomach twist with anxiety. She had learned not to trust too quickly, not to hope too much. Adults had a way of disappointing you just when you started to believe they might be different. "They're nice people, Emma," Sarah said softly, noticing the tension in the girl's posture. "I've known the Hendersons for years." The front door opened before they even reached the porch, and a woman in her 50s stepped out. She was wearing a flour-dusted apron over jeans and had kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Her graying hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and she moved with the easy confidence of someone comfortable in her own skin. "You must be Emma and Lily," she said warmly, but not too loudly, seeing that Lily was sleeping. "I'm Mrs. Henderson, but you can call me Carol if you'd like." Emma helped Lily out of the car, keeping a protective arm around her groggy sister. Lily blinked sleepily and looked around at the unfamiliar surroundings with confusion. "Where are we?" Lily whispered. "We're somewhere safe," Emma whispered back. "Just for tonight, remember?" Carol led them into the house, and Emma was immediately struck by how it felt lived in and loved. Children's artwork was displayed on the refrigerator. There were books scattered on side tables, and the whole place smelled like cinnamon and vanilla. It was nothing like the sterile apartments or cramped motel rooms they had lived in with their mother. "I bet you girls are hungry," Carol said. "I made some soup earlier, and there are fresh biscuits in the oven." Emma's stomach growled audibly, reminding her that the granola bar Officer Thompson had given them was the only thing they'd eaten since the sandwich yesterday. But she forced herself to be cautious. "We don't want to be any trouble." "Honey, feeding people is never trouble in this house," Carol said with a gentle smile. "It's what we do." A man appeared in the doorway leading to what looked like a living room. He was tall and broad-shouldered with calloused hands and the kind of deep tan that came from working outdoors. Despite his size, there was something gentle about the way he moved, careful not to startle the newcomers. "This is my husband, Tom," Carol said. "Tom, these are the girls Sarah told us about." Tom nodded politely but kept his distance, seeming to understand that Emma was still evaluating whether this place was safe. "Welcome to our home, girls. I hope you'll be comfortable here." As if summoned by the sound of voices, two other children appeared. The boy, Miguel, looked to be about 12 with dark hair and curious eyes. The girl, Sophie, was clearly older, maybe 14, with long blonde hair in a braid and a book tucked under her arm. "Hi," Sophie said with a warm smile. "Sarah said you might be staying with us for a little while." Emma instinctively stepped in front of Lily, still not ready to let her guard down completely. "Just tonight. We're waiting for our mama to come back." Miguel and Sophie exchanged a look that Emma didn't miss. It was the kind of look that said they had heard similar stories before, that they understood what it felt like to wait for someone who might not return. "Are you guys hungry?" Miguel asked. "Carol makes the best chicken noodle soup ever." Despite her wariness, Emma found herself nodding. Lily was swaying on her feet with exhaustion, and Emma knew her sister needed food and rest more than she needed Emma's protective suspicion. Carol served them bowls of steaming soup and warm biscuits with butter and honey. Emma tried to eat slowly, to maintain some dignity, but the food was so good and they were so hungry that both girls found themselves cleaning their bowls completely. "Would you like some more?" Carol asked, and when both girls nodded shyly, she refilled their bowls without comment or judgment. While they ate, Tom sat at the table with them, not saying much, but creating a calm presence. Emma noticed how he didn't ask probing questions or try to force conversation. He just let them be, occasionally passing the butter or refilling their water glasses. "Sarah mentioned you two are sisters," Sophie said. "That's really special. Miguel and I aren't related, but we're like brother and sister now." "How long have you been here?" Emma asked, curious despite herself. "I've been here for 8 months, Sophie said. Miguel's been here for about 6 months. Are you waiting for your families to come back too?" Sophie's expression grew gentle but sad. My situation is a little different. But Miguel's mom is working really hard to get better so they can be together again. Miguel nodded. She's in a program to help her stop using drugs. It's hard, but she calls me every week and tells me how she's doing. Emma felt a flicker of hope. So some mamas do come back? Some do, Carol said softly. And while they're working on getting better, we make sure their children are safe and loved. After dinner, Carol showed them to a bedroom upstairs. It had 2 twin beds with matching quilts, a window that looked out over the garden, and shelves lined with books and toys. This will be your room while you're here, Carol said. The bathroom is right across the hall, and if you need anything during the night. Tom and I are just down the hall. Emma examined the room carefully, noting the window that could serve as an escape route if necessary, the door that didn't have a lock on the outside, the way the beds were positioned so she could see both the door and the window from either one. Emma, Lily said quietly, can we really sleep here tonight? Emma looked at her sister's exhausted face and made a decision. Yes, we can sleep here tonight. Carol helped them find some pajamas that fit reasonably well, donated items from other children who had stayed here before. As Lily got ready for bed, Emma stepped out into the hallway where Carol was waiting. Mrs. Henderson. Carol, what happens tomorrow? Carol's expression was honest and kind. Tomorrow, Sarah will continue looking for your mother. She'll check hospitals, shelters, and make calls to see if anyone has seen her. In the meantime, you and Lily will stay here where you're safe. And if she doesn't find her, then we'll keep looking. And we'll keep taking care of you both until we do. Emma studied Carol's face, looking for signs of deception or hidden motives, but found only genuine warmth and concern. Why do you do this? Take care of kids like us? Carol was quiet for a moment, seeming to consider how to answer. Tom and I had children of our own, but they're grown now with families of their own. This house felt too quiet without children in it, and we believe that every child deserves to feel safe and loved, especially when they're scared or uncertain. Even kids whose mamas might be in trouble? Especially those kids, Carol said firmly. Children don't choose their circumstances, Emma. They just do their best with whatever situation they're given. And from what I can see, you've been doing an incredible job taking care of Lily. Emma felt tears threatening and quickly blinked them away. She had been strong for so long, had held everything together through so many difficult situations that kindness without strings attached felt almost dangerous. It made her want to let her guard down, and she couldn't afford to do that. Not yet. I need to check on Lily, Emma said. When she returned to their room, she found Lily already curled up in one of the beds, hugging a small stuffed elephant that had been sitting on the pillow. Emma, Lily called softly. This bed is really soft, and it smells clean. Emma climbed into the other bed, still fully clothed despite the borrowed pajamas. Go to sleep, Lily. Tomorrow we'll figure out our next step. But as the house settled into nighttime quiet around them, Emma found herself staring at the ceiling, her mind racing. For the first time in months, maybe years, she and Lily were warm, fed, and safe. But Emma had learned that safety could disappear in an instant, that adults could change their minds or reveal their true intentions without warning. She thought about Officer Thompson and the genuine concern in his eyes, about Sarah who had worked so hard to keep them together, about Carol and Tom who had opened their home without question. Part of her wanted desperately to trust them, to believe that maybe, just maybe, there were still good people in the world who would help without expecting anything in return. But the larger part of her, the part that had been shaped by disappointment and abandonment, whispered warnings. Don't get too comfortable. Don't let Lily get too attached. Be ready to run if you have to. As sleep finally began to claim her, Emma's last conscious thought was a prayer to whatever force might be listening. Please let Mama be okay. Please let her come back, and please don't let anyone try to separate us. Emma woke before dawn, a habit she had developed from months of staying alert to danger. The room was still dark, but pale light was beginning to seep through the curtains. For a moment she was disoriented by the softness of the bed and the unfamiliar sounds of the countryside, birds chirping, the distant lowing of cattle, the creak of old wood settling. Then reality crashed back. They were at the Henderson farm. Mama was still missing. Emma sat up quickly and looked over at Lily's bed, relief flooding through her when she saw her sister still sleeping peacefully, the stuffed elephant clutched in her arms. Emma slipped quietly out of bed and padded to the window. Outside she could see rolling fields dotted with farm buildings. a red barn in the distance, and Tom Henderson walking toward what looked like a chicken coop with a bucket in his hand. The scene was so normal, so peaceful that it almost hurt to look at. A soft knock on the door made Emma turn around. "Come in," she whispered. Carol peeked her head in, fully dressed despite the early hour. "I heard you moving around. Did you sleep okay?" Emma nodded, though truthfully she had dozed fitfully, waking at every small sound. "I didn't want to wake up Lily." "That's very considerate of you," Carol said. "Would you like to come downstairs? I'm making pancakes and you could help if you'd like." Emma glanced back at Lily, torn between her protective instincts and the surprising appeal of doing something normal like helping make breakfast. "She'll be safe here," Carol assured her. "Sophie is still sleeping in the room next door and the house is secure." Something in Carol's tone convinced Emma that this woman understood her fears without judgment. She nodded and followed Carol downstairs to the kitchen. The kitchen was warm and inviting in the morning light, with copper pots hanging from hooks and herbs growing in small pots on the windowsill. Carol handed Emma an apron and showed her how to mix the pancake batter while she started bacon sizzling in a large cast-iron pan. "You're good at this," Carol observed as Emma stirred the batter with careful precision. "Mama taught me to cook when I was little," Emma said. "She said it was important for me to know how to take care of myself and Lily. Your mama sounds like she loves you very much." Emma's stirring slowed. "She does. She's just having a hard time right now." Carol didn't push for details, instead focusing on heating the griddle to the perfect temperature. Sometimes adults go through difficult periods. It doesn't mean they don't love their children. "Do you think Officer Thompson found out anything about her yet?" "I don't know, sweetheart. But Sarah will call as soon as she has any news." They worked together in comfortable silence for a while, Emma finding unexpected peace in the simple rhythm of cooking. When the pancakes were golden and the bacon was crispy, the sound of footsteps on the stairs announced that the rest of the household was waking up. Lily appeared first, looking small and rumpled in her borrowed pajamas, followed by Miguel and Sophie, who seemed much more alert despite the early hour. "Good morning, sleepyhead," Emma said to Lily, who immediately came to her side. "You're cooking," Lily observed with wonder. "Carol taught me how to make pancakes." They all sat around the large kitchen table, and Emma marveled at how natural it felt, how much it reminded her of the family breakfast she had always imagined other children experienced. Tom joined them after finishing his morning chores, his presence adding to the sense of security that seemed to permeate the Henderson home. "So, what do you girls like to do for fun?" Sophie asked between bites of pancake. "We like to read," Lily said shyly. "Emma reads to me all the time." "I love reading too," Sophie said. "Maybe later we could go look at the books in the living room. There's a whole shelf of stories." Emma found herself relaxing slightly as the conversation flowed around the table. Miguel told them about the treehouse Tom was helping him build. Sophie described the garden where they grew vegetables for the local food bank. And Carol mentioned the baby goats that had been born just last week. It all sounded wonderful, like something from a storybook. But Emma couldn't shake the feeling that it was too good to be true, too perfect to last. After breakfast, Sarah arrived with news that made Emma's heart sink. She had spent the morning calling hospitals and shelters, checking with police departments in neighboring counties, and following up on any leads she could find. But there was no trace of their mother. "I need to ask you some more questions," Sarah said gently as they sat in the Hendersons' living room. "I know it's hard, but the more I know about your situation, the better I can help." Emma sat on the couch with Lily pressed close against her side, Carol and Tom nearby but giving them space. "What's your mama's full name?" Sarah asked. Emma hesitated. Their mother had taught them to be careful about giving out personal information, but she also realized that Sarah couldn't help if she didn't know the truth. "Jennifer Wells," Emma said finally, "but sometimes she uses different names." "Different names? Why?" Emma looked down at her hands. "She says sometimes people are looking for us and we have to be careful." Sarah and Carol exchanged a look. "Emma, who might be looking for you?" "I don't know exactly. Mama says they're bad people who want to hurt us or take us away from her." "Has anyone ever tried to hurt you or your mama?" Emma's memories were a confused tangle of late-night moves, hushed phone conversations, and her mother's increasing paranoia over the past year. "There was a man," she said slowly, "before we started moving around so much. He used to come to our apartment and make Mama cry. She said he was dangerous. Do you remember his name?" Ron something. Mama was really scared of him. Sarah wrote this down carefully. Emma, I need to ask about something else. When you were waiting at the train station, you mentioned that your mama had gone away before and asked you to wait for her. Can you tell me about those times? Emma felt Lily tense beside her. This was the question she had been dreading, the one that would reveal just how much their mother had been struggling. It started a few months ago, Emma said quietly. Mama would say she had to go somewhere important, like to get money or food or to talk to someone who could help us. She'd tell us to wait in a park or outside a store and she'd come back. How long would she be gone? At first, just a few hours. But then it got longer, sometimes overnight. Carol's face was full of compassion, but Emma could see the concern there too. Emma, where did you and Lily sleep on those nights when she didn't come back? In the park sometimes. Or Lily and I would find a 24-hour laundromat and pretend we were waiting for our clothes to finish. Or sometimes we'd sit in the lobby of a hotel and people would think we were guests. You've been taking care of Lily by yourself all this time, Sarah said, and there was admiration in her voice alongside the worry. Someone had to, Emma said simply, and Lily's the most important thing in the world to me. Lily looked up at Emma with absolute trust and love. Emma always keeps me safe. Sarah spent another hour asking gentle questions, piecing together a picture of a family in crisis. Their mother, Jennifer, had been struggling with what sounded like increasing mental health issues and possibly substance abuse. She had been moving them around frequently, sometimes sleeping in their car, sometimes in cheap motels, rarely staying anywhere long enough to establish stability. Throughout it all, Emma had been the constant in Lily's life, making sure her little sister was fed, protecting her from the worst of their mother's episodes, creating stability in a world that had none. I'm going to continue looking for your mother, Sarah promised. But Emma, I need you to understand that even when we find her, there may be some decisions to make about what's best for you and Lily. What do you mean? Sarah chose her words carefully. Your mama is sick right now. She needs help to get better. And until she gets that help, the most important thing is making sure you and Lily are safe and cared for. Emma felt panic rising in her chest. You're going to try to take us away from her permanently, aren't you? Emma, no decisions have been made about anything, Carol interjected gently. Right now, the only thing anyone is worried about is making sure you and Lily are okay. But Emma was already retreating mentally, her protective walls slamming back into place. She had been stupid to trust. Stupid to let herself believe that these people genuinely cared without wanting something in return. They were going to try to take Lily away from their mother, maybe even take Lily away from her. I want to call Officer Thompson, Emma said suddenly. Sarah looked surprised. Of course. May I ask why? He said to call him if we needed anything. I need to talk to him. Carol brought Emma the phone and she carefully dialed the number from the card Marcus had given her. When he answered, she felt some of her panic subside at the sound of his familiar voice. Officer Thompson, it's Emma from last night. Emma, I'm so glad you called. How are you doing? Are you and Lily okay? We're okay. But I need to ask you something important. If they find our mama, and she's sick like they say, will they let us stay with her? There was a pause on the other end of the line. Emma, that depends on a lot of things. The most important thing is what's safest for you and Lily. But we belong with Mama. Even if she's sick, she's still our Mama. Officer Thompson's words stayed with Emma long after she hung up the phone. She spent the rest of the day in a state of internal conflict, torn between the safety and warmth of the Henderson home and her fierce loyalty to her mother. Lily, meanwhile, seemed to be blooming in the stable environment, playing with Sophie, helping Miguel feed the chickens, and laughing more than Emma had heard in months. That evening, as Emma sat on the front porch watching Lily chase fireflies in the yard with the other children, Carol joined her on the porch swing. Penny for your thoughts? Carol asked gently. Emma was quiet for a long moment, watching Lily's delighted giggles as she tried to catch the blinking lights. She's happy here, Emma said finally. You both seem more relaxed than when you arrived. That's what scares me. Emma's voice was barely above a whisper. What if we get used to this? What if Lily forgets that this isn't our real life? Carol rocked the swing slowly, not rushing to respond. Emma, can I tell you something about my own childhood? Emma nodded, curious despite her emotional turmoil. I grew up in a house where there was never enough money, never enough food, and my parents fought constantly, My little brother and I learned to take care of ourselves because the adults in our lives were too busy dealing with their own problems. I spent my childhood feeling responsible for everyone and everything. What happened? When I was 12, my parents got divorced. My mother couldn't take care of us anymore because of her drinking. So my brother and I went to live with my aunt and uncle. I was terrified because I thought I was the only one who could protect my brother. Emma looked at Carol with new understanding. But he was okay? More than okay. For the first time in our lives, we got to just be kids. We didn't have to worry about whether there would be dinner on the table or whether the electricity would be turned off. We could focus on school, make friends, and discover who we were when we weren't busy surviving. Did you ever see your parents again? We did. My mother got help for her drinking, and my father learned to manage his anger. It took time, and it wasn't perfect, but eventually, we had relationships with them again. Different relationships than before, but healthier ones. Emma absorbed this story, seeing parallels to her own situation that both comforted and frightened her. But what if Mama needs me? What if she can't get better without knowing Lily and I are okay? Emma, your mama left you waiting at that train station because she thought it was the best choice she could make at the time. That tells me that even in her confusion or illness, she wants you to be safe. Sometimes the most loving thing a parent can do is make sure their children are cared for, even if they can't do the caring themselves right now. The next morning brought news that changed everything. Sarah arrived early, her expression serious but not without hope. "We found your mother," she said without preamble. Emma felt her heart stop, then start racing. "Where is she? Is she okay? Can we see her?" Sarah sat down across from Emma and Lily, choosing her words carefully. "She's in the hospital. She's been there for 2 days. What happened to her?" Lily asked, her voice small and scared. "She was found unconscious in a park downtown. She had taken some pills that made her very sick. The doctors are taking care of her and she's going to be okay, but she needs help with some serious problems." Emma felt the world tilt around her. "She tried to hurt herself?" "We think she was confused and scared and made some bad choices. But Emma, the important thing is that she's getting help now. Can we see her?" Sarah hesitated. "She's asked to see you, but the doctors want to make sure she's stable first. Maybe in a day or two." Emma stood up abruptly and walked to the window, her mind racing. Everything made sense now. Her mother's increasing paranoia, the frequent moves, the times she would disappear for hours or days. She hadn't been running from bad people. She had been running from her own demons. "Emma," Sarah said gently, "there's something else. Your mother wants to talk to you, but she also wants to make sure you and Lily are safe. She's asked us to find you a good place to stay while she gets the help she needs. She doesn't want us with her." The words came out as a whisper. "She loves you too much to put you through any more uncertainty. She wants to get better so she can be the mother you deserve." Lily started crying quietly, and Emma immediately went to comfort her. But for the first time, Emma felt like she might be the one who needed comforting. "How long?" Emma asked. "The doctors aren't sure yet. It could be several months. Maybe longer." Emma felt her careful control finally beginning to crack. "So we're going to be separated from her for months? And what happens to Lily and me? Do we get split up and sent to different families?" "Absolutely not," Carol said firmly, speaking for the first time since Sarah had arrived. "Emma, if you and Lily are willing, Tom and I would like you to stay here. For as long as you need to." Emma stared at her. "You mean live here? Really live here?" "We mean become part of our family while your mother gets better. You'd go to school here, have your own rooms, be part of our daily life. And when your mother is ready, we'll help you reconnect with her. But why would you do that? You barely know us." Tom spoke up from the doorway where he had been quietly listening. "Emma, yesterday I watched you teach Lily how to gather eggs from the chicken coop. You were so patient with her, so gentle. And I watched Lily light up when she successfully got an egg without breaking it. That's what family looks like. We're not really your family, though. Family isn't just about blood," Carol said. "It's about people who care for each other, who show up for each other, who make each other feel safe and loved. If you're willing, we'd like to show you what that feels like." Emma looked at Lily, who had stopped crying and was watching the adults with big, hopeful eyes. "Lily, what do you think?" "I like it here," Lily said quietly. "And I like Carol and Tom and Sophie and Miguel. But I miss Mama. We all miss Mama. But maybe this way, when she gets better, we'll have good things to tell her about. Maybe we can even bring her here to visit when she's ready." Sarah smiled. "That's exactly what we're hoping for, Emma." This isn't about replacing your mother or making you forget her. It's about giving you stability while she fights to get healthy. Emma felt something shift inside her, a tentative hope that maybe things could work out differently than she had feared. If we stay here, can we still visit Mama when the doctors say it's okay? Of course, Sarah assured her. And we can talk to her on the phone as soon as the doctors give permission. And we can tell her about the chickens and the garden and how Lily learned to swing by herself. All of that and more. Emma took a deep breath and made a decision that felt both terrifying and right. Okay, we'll stay. But I want to write Mama a letter to tell her we're okay and that we're waiting for her to get better. Carol's eyes filled with tears. I think that's a beautiful idea. That afternoon, Emma sat at the kitchen table with a pad of paper and a pencil, trying to find words for everything she felt. Finally, she began to write. Dear Mama, we found out you're in the hospital and we're not mad at you for leaving us at the train station. We know you were scared and sick and you thought you were doing the right thing. We're staying with a really nice family called the Hendersons while you get better. They have chickens and a garden and they make really good food. Lily learned how to gather eggs and I'm helping Carol learn how to make our favorite cookies, so she can teach you when you're ready to visit. We miss you every day and we love you no matter what. We're not going anywhere and we're not going to forget you. We're just going to get stronger and happier, so that when you're ready to be our Mama again, we'll be the best daughters we can be. Please get better. Mama, we need you to fight for yourself the same way you taught us to fight for each other. Love always. Emma and Lily. As Emma sealed the letter in an envelope, she felt something she hadn't experienced in a very long time. Hope. Not just hope that things would work out, but hope that maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something better for all of them. 6 months later, Emma stood in the same kitchen where she had first learned to make pancakes, but everything had changed. The scared, defensive girl who had arrived that December night had blossomed into a confident 10-year-old who laughed easily, did well in school, and had even made friends in town. Lily, now 8, was thriving in 2nd grade and had overcome her fear of sleeping alone, though she still kept the stuffed elephant from her first night close by. The transformation hadn't been immediate or easy. There had been nights when Emma woke up in a panic, forgetting where she was. There had been days when Lily would ask why Mama couldn't just come home now. There had been moments when Emma's protective instincts would flare up, making her suspicious of any change or new person in their lives. But slowly, steadily, the Hendersons had proven themselves trustworthy. When Emma had nightmares, Carol would sit with her until she felt safe again. When Lily struggled with reading, Tom would patiently work with her for hours, celebrating every small victory. When Emma tested their commitment by acting out or being difficult, they responded with consistent love and boundaries. Most importantly, they had kept their promise about staying connected to Jennifer. Weekly phone calls had turned into visits as Jennifer progressed through treatment. The first visit had been awkward and painful, with Jennifer looking fragile and uncertain, apologizing over and over for leaving them. But gradually, as her mother got healthier, their relationship had begun to heal too. Now, on this warm June morning, Emma was nervous for a different reason. Today was the day Jennifer was being released from the residential treatment facility. After months of therapy, medication management, and hard work, she was ready to begin rebuilding her life and her relationship with her daughters. You okay, sweetheart? Carol asked, noticing Emma's fidgeting. I think so. What if things are weird? What if we don't know how to be a family anymore? Carol wrapped Emma in a hug that had become as natural as breathing over the past months. Emma, you've never stopped being a family. You've just been a family that needed some help for a while. The plan they had all worked out together was careful and gradual. Jennifer would live in a supervised apartment in town, close enough for daily visits but far enough to give everyone space to adjust. Emma and Lily would continue living with the Hendersons during the week, but would spend weekends with their mother. Eventually, if everything went well, they would move back in with Jennifer. It was a plan that acknowledged the reality of their situation while honoring everyone's needs. Jennifer needed time to prove her stability. Emma and Lily needed the security of knowing they had a safe place to come back to if things didn't work out. And the Hendersons had made it clear that they would always be part of the girls' lives no matter what. When Sarah's car pulled into the driveway that afternoon, Emma felt her heart racing. Through the window, she could see her mother in the passenger seat looking nervous but healthy. Jennifer had gained weight during treatment and her eyes were clear in a way Emma hadn't seen in years. Lily burst out the front door and ran to the car, her earlier nervousness forgotten in her excitement. Emma followed more slowly, suddenly shy after all these months. Jennifer stepped out of the car and knelt down as Lily launched herself into her arms. "Mama, you look so much better." "I feel so much better, baby girl," Jennifer said, tears streaming down her face. "I missed you so much." When she looked up at Emma, still hanging back by the porch, her expression was full of love and regret. "Hi, Emma. Hi, Mama." They stood looking at each other for a moment, both trying to navigate this new dynamic. Finally, Jennifer stood and approached slowly, respecting Emma's need for space. "I know I have a lot to make up for," Jennifer said quietly. "I know you had to be the grown-up when I couldn't be. And I know saying sorry isn't enough." Emma felt tears she hadn't expected starting to fall. "I was so scared, Mama. I didn't know what happened to you or if you were ever coming back." "I was scared too. I was so sick in my head that I couldn't think straight. But Emma, leaving you and Lily at that station was the hardest thing I've ever done. I did it because I knew you would be safer without me until I could get help. Are you really better now?" Jennifer's answer was honest. "I'm much better. I'm not completely well yet, and I probably never will be completely well. But I've learned how to manage my illness and ask for help when I need it. And I've learned that being a good mother means making sure you girls are safe and loved. Even if that means admitting I can't always do it all by myself." Carol and Tom had joined them in the yard, along with Miguel and Sophie, who had become like siblings to Emma and Lily. The whole group stood together, an unconventional family that had formed through crisis but had become something beautiful. "Would you like to see the garden?" Lily asked, taking Jennifer's hand. "We grew tomatoes and carrots, and Emma learned how to can peaches." As Lily dragged Jennifer toward the vegetable garden, chattering excitedly about everything they had learned and done, Emma found herself walking beside Carol. "Are you okay with all this?" Emma asked quietly. "What do you mean, honey?" "I mean, we're not really your kids. We're going back to our mama now." "Are you sad?" Carol stopped walking and turned to face Emma. "Emma, loving you and Lily doesn't mean we have to keep you forever. It means we want what's best for you, whatever that looks like. Your mama is your mama and she loves you. Our job was to take care of you while she got healthy enough to be the parent you deserved. That doesn't make our love for you any less real. But what happens to us now? Do we just stop being part of your family?" Tom, who had been listening, spoke up. "Emma, you and Lily will always be part of our family. You'll just be the part of our family that lives with their mama and visits for Sunday dinners and calls when you need advice or help with homework." "Really?" "Really," Carol confirmed. "Family isn't a pie where loving one person means there's less love for everyone else. Love multiplies. The more people you love, the more love you have to give." That evening, after Jennifer had spent hours touring the farm, meeting all the animals, and hearing about every adventure the girls had experienced, they all sat down for dinner together. It was chaotic and loud, with 7 people around the table, but it was also filled with laughter and warmth. Emma watched her mother carefully throughout the meal, looking for signs of the old instability, the paranoia, the sudden mood shifts that had characterized their life before. But Jennifer seemed genuinely present, engaged with everyone's stories, asking thoughtful questions, and sharing appropriate details about her own journey toward recovery. "Mama," Lily said as they were finishing dessert, "are you going to be okay now?" "Like really okay?" Jennifer reached over and smoothed Lily's hair. "I'm going to work very hard every day to stay okay. I take medicine now that helps my brain work better, and I talk to a doctor every week who helps me when things get difficult. And I have you and Emma and all these wonderful people to help me remember why it's important to stay healthy. And if you start feeling sick again," Emma asked, the protective big sister still needing reassurance, "then I'll ask for help right away instead of trying to handle it by myself. And you girls will still be safe because now we have a whole team of people who love you." Officer Thompson arrived just as they were clearing the dinner dishes. He had stayed in touch throughout the months, checking on the girls and following their progress. Emma was delighted to see him and immediately dragged him outside to see the treehouse Miguel and Tom had finished building. "You look happy, Emma," Marcus observed as they sat on the treehouse platform, looking out over the rolling hills. "I am happy. It's weird because for so long I thought being happy meant Mama would come back and everything would go back to how it was before. But now I think maybe happiness means things being better than they were before. That's very wise. Officer Thompson, that night you found us at the train station. Did you know how everything would turn out? Marcus was quiet for a moment, remembering that cold December evening and the two frightened girls huddled on a bench. No, Emma, I had no idea. I just knew that two little girls needed help, and I was going to do everything I could to make sure they got it. I'm glad you didn't just take us to a regular foster home where they might have separated us. You know what? I'm glad too. Sometimes things work out exactly the way they're supposed to, even when we can't see it at the time. As the evening wound down and it was time for Jennifer to leave for her apartment, the whole family gathered on the front porch for goodbyes. It felt different from all the other goodbyes they had experienced, not final or frightening, but full of promise. I'll see you girls tomorrow after school, Jennifer promised, hugging each of them tightly, and this weekend we'll start practicing being a family again. We never stopped being a family, Mama, Emma said. We just got bigger. As Sarah's car disappeared down the gravel driveway, Emma felt Lily slip her hand into hers. They stood together on the porch, surrounded by the people who had become their safety net, watching the stars appear in the summer sky. Emma, Lily said quietly, I think we're going to be okay now. Emma squeezed her sister's hand and smiled. Yeah, Lily, I think we really are going to be okay.